thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, you know, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, you know, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, you know, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
what I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my god.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
you know, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, you know, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It's a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. You a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? If you guys don't notice, I'm kind of in my call-in sort of setup here, and I actually don't have anything set up on my my stream deck here for a call-in show, I don't think. Let's see, live stream, premiere, gaming, discussion, editing, presentation, StreamYard, Diablo, call-in. Apparently I do. All right. So tonight we're going to be hopefully taking some calls. So we've got the line open. If you want to call in, it's 256-634-6984. If you want to call in and talk about Agenda 47 or Project 2025, why you're voting for Trump. I'm obviously not voting for Trump. It's not an option that I'm voting for Trump, like, whatsoever. So I'm pretty much wanting to know why people want to vote for Agenda 47 / Project 2025 / Trump and the couch fucker. I really want to know. I do have some things planned. Like if we don't get any callers or if we don't have anybody that really wants to talk about anything substantial as far as like politics in America. If you guys don't know, here on the channel, we are very liberal. Like, liberal to the point of fuck all of the MAGA people out there. Like, liberal as fuck. That's right, honey. So if you don't like that, I totally understand. But at the same time, it's like, in this particular election season, it's literally Nazis versus democracy. And I really don't think that there's much of a decision to be made. So if you want to fuck around and find out why people support Donald Trump still and why they're voting for Trump or why they think that I should vote for Trump, even though that's not going to happen, then please stay tuned. Maybe if I can get live stream. There we go. Intro. All right, hold on. I gotta get in. One second, everybody. Y'all didn't get to see my ass. Anyways, okay, so what we got planned for tonight? Of course, call-in show. I do have it linked in the description over there. I do believe, let me make sure. Yes, there is the phone number, which is 1-256-634-6984. That's the call-in show number here for Godless Engineer. Or you can use the nice little short link there for calling Godless Engineer over the web. And you can call in if for whatever reason you want to call in over the web, whether that be that you're outside the United States or you just don't want your phone number to show up so that I know your phone number. You can call in there. All lines are open. We have 4 lines. It's got automatic screening, so you pretty much just tell like the software what you're going to be talking about or whatever. So I mean, pretty lax show tonight. I do have the 2024 GOP platform, quote unquote, "Make America Great Again," pulled up, and we will be going through that. But I do also have some like videos of things that I was going to cover. From various maggots that exist out there on the interwebs. So we are going to be covering that tonight. I feel so. The reason why, just to give y'all a little bit of an explanation, not that I owe anybody an explanation, but to give y'all a little bit of an explanation. Been really heavily invested in this political cycle, like in this election season, namely because of what I laid out before, and that's because it feels to me like it's fascism versus democracy in this election. Either you're voting for fascism, whether or not you admit that you're voting for that or not. For me, it's a vote between fascism and democracy. So if you don't feel that that is the situation in this particular election season, or that you feel like Donald Trump somehow represents the best option that we have, I would really love to hear from you. I would really love to connect with you and figure out why you have that wrong opinion. And so I really want you to call in. If we don't get any callers, that's perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. We're still going over the 2024 GOP platform, which is also known as Agenda 47. And I do have a little bit of knowledge about Project 2025. If you guys don't know, we do have a podcast that we have started on a separate channel. We got a new member. John Hopkins gifted 5 memberships over there. Thank you so much. We got a new member. Mr. Epistovus got one. Rick Larson, My Pagan Gardens, Colin Castor, and Sinvia. We got a new member. All got memberships there. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, John Hopkins, for giving all of these lovely people. We got a new member. Memberships here. We got a new member. We done? We're done. And in case you're wondering, I do have my whippy cup here. It's what we've deemed as the whippy cup. That's my whiskey sippy cup. It's because I've knocked over and I actually destroyed one of my dragon crystal cups. But so I'm working off of a Crown Royal Rye, which is one of the more potent Crown Royals. It's not basic level Crown Royal. But that's what I got tonight. Because we were in Sarnia, Canada, here recently in Ontario. We went to a convention there where we got to meet a whole bunch of great people, including Forrest, Aaron, the Apostate Sisters, who are actually I'm interviewing on Monday. I have them on Monday that we are going to be talking to them, and they're a very interesting story of the cult, basically, that they came out of. And so we've got them. We've also got some other people that I'm going to be doing stuff with here in the near future. Apostasy, yes, I'm going to have Apostasy, Vice Rhino, Dr. Josh, David Fitzgerald was also there, Seth. I'm actually going to be, I worked it out with Apostasy that she's actually going to come onto the channel for like a little interview. apostasy is great. And of course, Vice Rhino, like we spent the entire weekend with Vice Rhino. Like we were pretty much joined at the hip, looking at the whale peens in the river or whatever. We did. We followed Vice Rhino back to Niagara, and that was pretty fun. We got to spend a little bit of time with Vice in his natural habitat, and that was pretty interesting. And so, it was a really nice weekend, and we actually we got on that boat. Well, so on the Canada side, it's not Made of the Mist. No, yeah. Right, it's Niagara City Cruises on the Canadian side. On the United States side, it's still Made of the Mist. But on the Canadian side, which is where we were staying at, which is lovely, by the way. I love staying over there on the Canadian side. That was an awesome experience, and it was a great time staying on that side. And the Niagara City Cruises, like, great. Like, it was awesome to be able to go right up to the falls and be drenched in like the water and everything like that. And we also got a tour around the area where they talked about all the stunts and everything that went on there, which was interesting. Although at the time I was pretty tired. I mean, it was really early in the morning. Like we went, first boat in the morning, it was like 7:45, something like that. So it was pretty crazy. Crazy early, that is. But anyways, so we are going to be going over like calls. Anybody that wants to call in, feel free. Even if you aren't necessarily voting for Trump or are advocating for Trump, I'd still love to hear from you. The number is in the description there. And that number is 1-256-634-6984. You can call in, or you can use the link that's in the description if you want to call in over the web. I'd love to hear from anybody that wants to talk to me. But like I said, I do have some filler stuff to tide us over until somebody calls in, either to advocate for Trump or not. And so we are over here with the Christian the face of Christian nationalism himself, Joel. What is his name? Fucking Joel Webbin. Let me see if I can fix this right. There we go. I got it set up for Project 20 or Agenda 47, but we're gonna cover some of these videos. So this is from Right Wing Watch. If you guys don't know, I really love Right Wing Watch. They're great, and I like consuming their content because they really inform you about all of the crazy shit that's going on in MAGA these days. And the right wing in general. Like if you're a very liberal person, I feel like they are going to give you like the down low on what crazy shit is being said by MAGA. And so this is Joel Webbin. If you don't know, we did a special little news segment on him earlier in this year. And basically he is advocating for Christian nationalism. And in this particular point, you can see that he doesn't like women. And so we're going to hear from Joel Webbin as to why the 19th Amendment, which is women's suffrage, should be abolished. Boom.
Have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people. And who are those people? Non-elected officials. Like what democracy, what it lends its strength to is instead of having elected officials that have power, is a raw universal, because that's what we have is a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote. Right. Everyone. And just for the record, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian. And that is the Christian position. Oh my gosh, you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So it's not just elevating a male vote, but it's elevating the household vote. We're saying that that society, if you break it down to the basic building block, is not atomistic as individuals, but molecular, being households. That the way that God sees humanity is He breaks them down to families, and so that it's not just random individual atoms all, bouncing around together, and 350 million atoms bouncing together in one nation on one piece of land, but it's families. And so by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote. Right. There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice? Well, where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives that love them. The reason why I have grown to despise.
So, according to Joel Webben, the Christian position, like scripturally supported, is that women do not deserve the right to vote. And this is the Christian nationalist position. I feel like if you're talking about the quintessential Christian nationalist narrative that is being put out there, we're talking about this right here. Like Joel Webben. Joel Webben is the quintessential Christian nationalist. They want to restrict women from voting. They want to enforce familial voting, like family-oriented voting. I believe J.D. Vance is very much in support of giving families more votes, like based on the number of members that are in your family. So, like, if you're a family, meaning two partners, well, I guess in the Christian nationalist version, it's man and woman, and then you've got 3 kids. Then that family gets 5 votes. So the kids get votes, wife gets a vote, but the only person that gets the vote is the man, right? And that's what Webben here is advocating for. He says that women do not matter unless it is through a man. And so that is what you're voting for this election season. You're voting on this right here, whether or not women matter. And it's more than just this, because in this election season, you're talking about not only women mattering, right? But it's their bodily autonomy that matters. Conservatives want to restrict women's bodily autonomy. I mean, they don't want to restrict the bodily autonomy of men. They only want to restrict the bodily autonomy of women, because that's just another aspect of control that they can enforce on another person. And they're weaponizing Christianity in order to do this. Like, I'm not saying that Christianity is any better than what Joel is promoting here, but I do think that more progressive and more modern understandings of Christianity definitely afford women the right to, like, an opinion, a right to vote. Like, a more progressive and non-traditionalist versions of Christianity are going to disagree with what Joel said here. But if you're looking at, like, traditional Christianity, this is what you're voting for. And this represents a good number of the people that are influencing Donald Trump in this election. Because the Heritage Foundation, they may not say the quiet parts out loud, like the ultra quiet parts out loud. Joel Webben here has no qualms about saying the quiet parts out loud. He is going to tell you exactly what the Heritage Foundation won't tell you. I'm not saying that Joel is associated with the Heritage Foundation, and definitely anybody that's looking to garner votes from the wider populace in America is not going to say the things that Joel Webben is talking about. But make no mistake that this is where it's heading. Like, this is where the Republican Party is going. You can't sit there and tell me that they are not going in this direction when more and more Republicans, more and more conservatives, for that matter, are leaning in this direction of restricting women's rights, restricting the rights of others. Like, you cannot tell me that this is not where they are going, because it seems like more and more people are supporting this position rather than the softer position that Donald Trump, as well as some of the other people on the right, are saying is the majority position. This is where they're headed. Like, this is the final destination for it. The next one I've selected is Glenn Beck. I just want to go through a few of these before we get to like Agenda 47, because I do want to go through Agenda 47. I think it's important for everybody to know what's in Agenda 47. But I do want to cover a few of these people first. So first off, again from Right Wing Watch, because they're a great organization. We personally, during the NIFB situation that we covered a few years ago, we actually directly corresponded with somebody within Right Wing Watch, and that they're a great organization. But this is Glenn Beck, who's saying, apparently, if we lose this election, I truly believe that we've lost the country. This could very well be the last free election in America, in an America that we have understood for 250 years. So let's see what this dipshit has to say.
Critical junction. We're at a critical junction. This is where the train track splits forever. You know, if we lose this election, I truly believe we've lost the country. This isn't just the most important election of our life, which they always say. This could very well be the last free election in an America that we have understood for 250 years. If we lose this election, we may not make it as a constitutional republic by 2026. That's not hyperbole. We're at a critical junction. This is...
So basically, Glenn Beck is using this alarmist language in order to invigorate the base. He's using it to tell people that, oh, you need to get out and vote Republican. Otherwise, we will not have a free election otherwise. And I've actually got a video I'm preparing where I'm responding to, I forget what his name is. It's like Shits on Bricks 1488. I don't know. Oh, Sticks and Hammer, Shits in His Pants 1472. Something. I don't know. Anyways, he put out a video where he claims that it's propaganda that Trump is going to like be a dictator, and that Trump is gonna make it so that elections just simply don't matter. There's several ways in which Trump can do that, and we've seen that in some countries in recent history where that's occurred. Like we've got the Russian Federation with Putin. He's obviously made it to where it's pointless to run against him. Venezuela just recently had a coup where the person that won actually did rig the election so that he would win. So it's not unheard of that these things have happened. Although many people might say that it's unheard of that it would happen in America. But considering the plan that Project 2025 has laid out, as well as the fact that Trump seems to be in bed with the Heritage Foundation who produced Project 2025, it seems more and more likely that it could happen. So if you want fair elections, you will not vote Trump. Like, you will not go with what Glenn Beck is saying, because Glenn Beck here, he's saying something that's just not true. That if Kamala Harris wins in the next election, he claims that we will not have another free election. And in fact, that is false, because Democrats want free elections. We want everybody to vote, and we want the nation to decide who should lead the nation. Like, liberals want that. It's the conservatives that don't want that. And this reaches back all the way to the 1980s. The 1980s, we saw Paul Weyrich, who was speaking to a Christian congregation, and he was saying how there's this concept of goo-goo government, right? That's good government. And that would be government that serves the entire populace instead of the very specific populace that he wants to target. And he claims that as the voting populace goes up, the influence that the conservatives have goes down. And so what we're talking about here is that the Republicans are influencing the public to both vote if they are already voting Trump and not vote if they are voting otherwise. And so how they do that is by voter ID laws. Voter ID laws have historically been voter suppression tactics. This is primarily because they institute strict restrictions on who can attain a voter ID. As we saw in Selma, Alabama, something that we, here at Godless Engineer know all too well, because we're in North Alabama, not South Alabama or Mid Alabama, but here in Alabama, we've seen massive amounts of voter suppression techniques, and well, so I mean, we can tell when this is happening, and these voter ID laws, by how they are wanting to implement them, are obviously voter suppression. They're not wanting to give people a time off from work in order to get their IDs. They're not wanting to provide the funds in order to provide the IDs for people. So this is obviously targeted to a lower class of American society. They have made sure, especially in the decades leading up to this point, that the lower class is primarily composed of minority groups. So therefore, the minority groups that heavily vote in a more democratic sort of style, like they more heavily vote for Democratic candidates than they do Republican candidates or conservative candidates. And so because they've regulated the minority group to primarily be in the lower class, targeting the lower class ends up being a target towards minority groups. And so that's all voter ID laws are, as we'll see in Agenda 47, as well as in Project 2025, which, if you guys don't know, I haven't put it in there, but maybe KC over there can put the Politics Deconstructed channel in the chat, because we are deconstructing Project 2025, and we plan on Politics Deconstructed continuing out, past this election, and continuing to deconstruct Republican talking points. And the Heritage Foundation is in no way done with politics or anything like that after this election season. They have been influential in every single conservative administration since Reagan. That would be the 1980 presidential administration. So they will continue to be instrumental in one way or another. They will continue to be instrumental. And Casey just put the link in there. If you're interested in this topic, definitely go and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We just recorded another Project 2025, or Deconstructing Project 2025 video. We just got that recorded, and I'm going to get that up next week. But we are going to be going through all these things. Now, before we get to the actual Agenda 47, like I've talked about already, we are going to go over this one other thing from a Christian Nationalist. But I do want to emphasize that anybody that's in the chat right now that supports Project 2025, which people are saying I pumped it up a little bit. I think that we should be in the yellow now. I think I did. I mean, I turned it down a little bit on the outgoing streams end. But so we are going to be going over this Christian Nationalist video, but I do want to reemphasize that we are taking calls from anybody, whether you're voting for Harris and Walz, or if you're voting for Trump and the couch fucker. You can call in, and I believe that number is, hold on, it's 1-256-634-6984. That's going to be the number if you want to call in and talk. That's regardless of whether you're voting Harris, Walz, or Trump, couch fucker. Or there's the link in there to call me over the web. You can do either one. Please feel free to do that. But we are going to be going over this next video that is from a Christian Nationalist, and they're going to be lying about history. Now, this is going to be something that you're going to see over the coming months, lying about history, whitewashing history to basically benefit the Christian Nationalist narrative. And so here we go.
Nowadays, you don't. Well, the thing about George Washington, nowadays, you don't, in schools, unfortunately, public schools don't teach the fact that he was such a man of faith. He was committed. In fact, he was so committed, he was a man of prayer. And if you go back and read the true history, you'll find that's exactly who he is. And here's a quote. He said, "The American cause of independence would have come to a complete disaster except for one thing, the direct intervention of God to save us." Well, the thing about George Washington, nowadays, you don't.
So basically, George Washington, while he was a Christian, he was not as strictly adherent to the Christian narrative. He was not. So I do want to emphasize that he was a Christian, but he was one of those Christians that went on holidays. As far as like I have seen, and when George Washington was first being brought up and everything like that, like there's a lot of false things about George Washington, like the famous picture where he's like kneeling, praying to God next to his horse. That's a fabrication. Like George Washington never did that, and he never had the opinion to do that. Does that mean that he never went to church? No, he did go to church, but at the same time, he was never the kind of Christian that was like so strictly adherent to the Christian religion that he would want to force it on other people. He was not a Christian nationalist. And you also have to understand the mindset of the framers of the Constitution. They had just fought a war, which, by the way, if you don't know, there's a whole other system of government between the Revolutionary War and the establishment of our current government. So there's a whole other government in between there that didn't work out. When the founders actually wrote the Constitution and manufacture the government that we are currently in, you have to understand that they came from a situation where they were fleeing an oppressive regime. They were fleeing England, what would become the United Kingdom. They were fleeing their oppressive nature, both representation or taxation without representation, as well as what originally occurred as far as like how the colonies initially were settled was this fleeing of religious persecution. So why on earth, maybe somebody can call in and tell me why these founders would write a constitution that forces a certain version of Christianity on its populace. Why would they do that if they were fleeing this oppressive religious regime? Like, I don't understand that. And of course, we don't have any callers just yet. We have 4 total open lines if you want to call in. The line is open. So if anybody wants to call in, I'm going to have it open the entire time we're on the show tonight. So if you want to call in and you disagree with anything that we got going on here today, please do, because I would really love to hear from you. But basically, this guy is just peddling Christian nationalist bullshit, and that's all that he's doing. And that's all that a lot of the conservatives do now, is that they peddle this creationist narrative that is just not representative of history. They're not representative of anything that has happened in American history. They're twisting and whitewashing history in order to make it work for themselves. And it's really sad. It's sad that they're doing this. It's sad that people feel like they need to rewrite history in order to suit their needs. I don't understand why you can't just present the policies for making things better now. And if those policies resonate with people, you will get voted into office. But if they don't resonate with people, then you won't get voted in. It's really that simple. There's no conspiracy. Like, there's no democratic conspiracy to, subvert the election or anything like that. But, we have people that support Trump that think those things. So I do have other videos pulled up in case we need to go through them. But considering we're about a half hour into our show tonight, I do want to go ahead and I want to get to the GOP platform. Oh, if you want to, hun. Crap. I'm holding the Windows button. That's why you see the Windows thing coming up. I thought I was holding the Alt because they have this Alt crop thing. If you want to cross reference it, hun, that's fine. I know that we were gonna do that. That's one thing that I was gonna specify. Here on the channel, we were actually what we were going to do is take the 20 points that Agenda 47 makes, and we're going to cross-reference those with Project 2025 to give you a comprehensive look as to how what seems to be the 2024 GOP platform is basically diet Project 2025. The GOP party seems to have identified. Oh, right. The GOP. Thank you, hun. The GOP has identified what will resonate with people, and they have distilled that down into what has become their platform. And so we are going to be going over this tonight, and we will also be taking calls, which there is a call-in queue. I'm excited to get to this call, actually. Well, they haven't there's no automatic thing, but we'll see who's there. What's up there, caller? How you doing? Hello? Are you there? Shoot. I'm not hearing you. I don't know if you're on. I'm not hearing you though. As far as I know, we should be hearing you. I know that I heard the line. Hello? No? Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna return you to the queue real quick. I'm not sure what's going on there. Let's see, maybe we can. Yep, I heard it too. Hello, you're on with Godless Engineer. What's up? No, I mean, I don't hear them right here. They disconnected and reconnected, and I don't hear them. I don't know what could be going on. Mute. Unmute. We got a rather simple system here. I don't know what could be going on. I'm so sorry, caller that is calling in. I'm gonna return you back to the queue, and I'll try you here in a minute. I'm not sure what could be going on. I definitely know that I should be able to hear you, and the let's see, the people should be able to hear you. Make sure. Yep, Chrome. Yeah. Yep. People should be able to hear you. I know at least I didn't hear you. I don't know what could be going on with the call-in studio stuff. But let's see. Dropped you out. I'm pulling you back in. What's up, caller? No, I'm not hearing anything either, and we should. Hello? Let's see. Microphone, Rode. Yep. You should be hearing us. We should be hearing you. but we don't seem to be hearing anything. I don't know. Hey, hon, do you think you could call in and see if it works? You want me to give you a number? Okay, it's one. No. 256-634-6984. Hey there, caller. How you doing? Hello? You can hear me? Okay. Well, yeah, there is another caller. Okay. So maybe I need to do my yeah, are you there? Okay, hold on. Let me see. I rejoin the meeting. Join now. For some reason it's not picking up. No, I can't hear you. So it's definitely on my end. I don't know why, but I'm working on trying to get it. Let's see. Let me I'm gonna return you to the queue real quick. I'm gonna drop. Right, and I'm gonna pick back up. Hold on. So sorry for whoever's in the in the chat right now. Try the other phone number. I'm glad that I'm glad you're able to help me with this there, hon.
Host and call screener line. Please enter your show or meeting number and press pound.
All right, I'll enter it. Show number pound.
Enter your 6-digit PIN number.
All right. Yep.
Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface. Audio recording is on. Dual channel.
Okay. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi.
I can hear you, and now I can hear myself in my ear too.
Okay. Yeah,
Can they
that's
hear it over the stream?
yeah, they should be able to. I can hear you and it's coming through
Okay.
over the OBS stuff, so you're good.
Okay, so whoever called in, please call back.
Yeah, they're actually still on while I was getting that done. I don't know what happened, but we're going to get to them, okay?
Okay, so I just hang up now and come back?
Yep. I love you, hun.
Okay. Love you too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so we've got a caller and hopefully we can. Oh no! They dropped. I don't know why. Maybe they'll call back. I was just about to bring them up. Oh, there they are. Hi, caller. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. This is great. I'm so glad that we got a caller. Woohoo! What's up?
Technical issues with GE.
Fuck yeah, technical issues with GE. Let's go. How's it going?
All right. It's going. So, yeah, this is Daniel calling.
Oh, hey, Daniel. How you doing? I don't know why I didn't recognize
I'm
you.
doing I'm doing pretty good, man. So I saw on there, let's talk politics. I'm going to mute the TV so I don't get feedback. I'll mess myself up talking if I hear the lag. So, yeah. Oh, David says good night, by the way. He went to bed. David? He had a little sore. He had a little sore stomach.
Oh no, I hate that. Actually, you know, I sneezed really hard like yesterday, and I got an upset tummy too. So like, I totally understand.
Yeah. Wait until you get my age or a little bit older, you'll sneeze and shit yourself.
You know, you say that as if I haven't done that already. I mean,
yep. Oh man, so yeah, so a lot of shit's been going on in the goddamn world of politics. Holy cow! My mom's just as mortified as I am.
Yeah, I mean, the news cycle is crazy, right? Like, it seems like every single day something weird as shit is going on, like on either side, and like you just get you have to be consistently plugged in to keep up, and it's really weird. Although I will say that the Trump couch fucker campaign is way more turbulent than the Harris Waltz campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so did you see there's like an interview with a guy right after that assassination attempt. And he was like, yeah, we were just having a party and I went to my backyard and was, you know, sitting there just listening to him. And then I saw this guy climbing the building and all that. And then like, I was worried that this whole thing was going to like, you know, push Trump and get him, you know, get him reelected and shit. But then I saw his voting block, and this guy had like this cap on with the orange hair sticking out of the top, and his head was shaved. And then he was drinking a beer while he was having his interview, and his beer koozie had Trump on there, and it said "wanted" on there underneath his picture. I'm like, okay, that's the voting block. I feel a little better. Those are the guys voting for him.
So. Yeah, it's so crazy that the voting block for Trump is basically like drunk redneck. Like that seems to be it. Which the drunk redneck demographic is so negatively affected by the Republican like agenda that it amazes me that so many drunk rednecks are like, fuck yeah, MAGA forever. Like, it seems so weird that they have that opinion when it's like, they're fucking you. Like, they're raw dogging you in the ass, and you just don't even know it. And it's so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm worried if he gets in, we might as well kiss our freedoms goodbye. I mean, like, that's going to be the end of it. But I think for that reason, there's enough people out there that's going to say no. Like, we can't allow that to happen. And one of my friends, man, he's more on the conservative side and stuff. He's not really Christian, but he thinks something's out there type thing. But he's more on the conservative side, and I'm telling him, like, look, dude, I mean, I don't care if you're conservative or not, you have to keep this dude from getting into office. He already tried taking over once. He's going to try it again, and now he's going to know what he needs to do. And he's going to start early. He's not going to wait till the end of the term like he did last time.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, we heard Marjorie Taylor Greene talk about how her and who's the guy that got put white Christian? Steve Bannon. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that her and Steve Bannon, if they would have been in charge of the coup, like they would have had guns, they would have been able to take over the Capitol, and they would have successfully completed the coup. So, like, they already know what they need to do in order to successfully take over the government. It's just whether or not they have the conviction right now to do it. Like, I feel like that's what's holding a lot of the Republican base back, is having the conviction to actually carry through with what amounts to treason. Like, so many of them think that they're being patriotic, but at the same time, in order to accomplish what they want to accomplish, they have to be non-patriotic. Like they have to fight against the current government.
Yeah. So I think I've told you in the past, and there's like plenty of people. Now, I got another story that's a little bit like tangential to this. But anyway, so I was in the military. Whenever you go into the military, you take an oath to defend the Constitution against enemies, both foreign and domestic. You know, so right now we have our votes. Go out there and vote. Defend against this enemy, you know, and that's what he is. He's an enemy to the United States.
Yeah.
So I think there's enough.
I was just gonna say the extremist Republican like voting bloc, like that demographic, has been a domestic terrorist voting bloc for a long time, like ever since Waco, Texas. Like they have been a domestic terrorist voting bloc, and they have been slowly working their way into it. There's a series on, I can't remember which streaming service. There's a series about where it's very good. So the first part of the series goes through the actual incident, and then it covers like what happens after. And the segment that happens after Waco really kind of clues you in what's going on now, because they talk about how like these white nationalist groups have banded together over, you know, various different mediums in order to control like who gets voted in office. They are trying to control like basically the next civil war that they want to happen in the United States. And it's just so painfully put out there. Like even in this this after Waco segment of the limited series, they're like, there's no way that they can organize all these different over vast distances, you know, with like, you know, pamphlets and fax machines. But like that's what they did. Like they did that, and they continued it on into the 21st century, just with more sophisticated. So it's crazy to me that people think that they can't organize and they can't force this upon the American people when they're very obviously wrapping their rhetoric around, you know, with very pleasant and appealing popular stances, and they're totally taking advantage of it.
Oh yeah, and it's plain to see. And like some of them aren't even being quiet about it anymore. They're not even like double speaking their way around it. You know, they're coming straight out and saying, "Yeah, we're going to install a dictator," and blah 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 blah. You know, like,
oh yeah.
At some point, you would think enough people would be like, "No, that's not going to happen. We're going to stop that. You know, we're going to get in there. We're going to get these people out of office." But yeah, it's definitely troublesome.
And I mean, they've even convinced Republican women that they shouldn't be able to vote. I mean, there's that Witzke.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember exactly, like her first name or anything like that. But her last name is Witzke, and she, ran for a congressional. Huh? No, I don't think it's Rachel. It's like Karen or something. Some kind of like really white person name. But her last name's Witzke. I remember that. And she basically wants to repeal women's suffrage. And so like this plays on to what that Joe Webben guy was saying, is that they want to repeal women's right to vote. Oh, my audio is still really low. Sorry, I gotta pump my up.
But I think
I don't know if you have any idea.
Okay. But yeah, I remember you covering her on the Skeptic Mafia podcast one time.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? Why would you want to give that shit up? Like, Jesus Christ, these people are nuts.
I mean, yeah.
like,
I mean, you would think that people would understand, like, you know, kind of what's at stake, but apparently they don't.
yeah. I think they're too drunk to know. Like, they just they drink so much beer in their little Donald Trump beer koozies that they just don't know anymore, I guess. I don't know. Like, but like in my area, so we're bordering, I mean, we're right next to Missouri and all that stuff. And our area is mostly like farmland and things like that until you get up towards like where I live and all those things. But I mean, most of the people are like Trumpville USA people and all this stuff, and it's just my next door neighbor has like a flag that has Confederate stars on it and stuff, you know, and then it has like the little snake and it says "Don't tread on me," and it's melded with the American flag, and I'm like, oh my god, why?
No, yeah, I totally feel you on that.
Yeah. At least it's not like that one where that whole entire house was just completely decked out in that Trump shit.
Well,
I don't know if you saw that or not.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but it didn't exactly see that. But like, for instance, we were up in Ohio at one point, and we were you know, checking out, and the cashier behind the counter, like, I didn't really have a problem with him, but he had like this prison tattoo that was the Confederate flag. And immediately I was like, oh, fuck. Because, you know, we had him as the cashier, but the bag person was a black person. And no, he wasn't in Canada. He was in Ohio. He was at the Kroger in Ohio.
Yeah.
He was in Ohio. So, I mean, in Ohio, like Ohio being like, you know, that's where JD Vance is from. I mean, people fuck couches there apparently, and they're hillbillies. But I mean, he has like a prison tattoo of the Confederate flag, and there's a black person that is like bagging our stuff. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, sir. I can bag these things. Like, that's what I was feeling as soon as I saw the prison tat that was the conservative flag, or I say the conservative flag, but the Confederate flag. Like, I was like, you don't need to do this. Like, I felt really bad in the situation because you know, that guy was having to go through a lot. Now, I don't know if the cashier was like changed his mind or something like that on the situation, but
yeah,
it definitely is like a difficult position for, you know, people to be put in.
Oh yeah. It's uncomfortable. It's needless. See, whenever I see that, I think they're not educated. They don't know what exactly that stands for, you know?
Oh, it stands for states' rights, don't you know? Like, I mean,
right.
It's all about states' rights to, you know, violate women. It's about states' rights to violate your fellow man. Like, it's
people
yeah, it's just about states' rights. Like, states should have the right in order to, you know, allow people to own other people as slaves. I mean, that's just, I don't know why you have a problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was guys that used to drive through where I'm living now, and they had like the, you know, the big truck, little dick type truck, you know, and then they had Confederate flags sticking out of the top of it, and they would coal roll everybody they came across.
Oh yeah, they totally had truck nuts.
I'm just
on
sitting
the
there
back
thinking
of
to
their truck,
myself, like, yeah, and I'm just sitting there thinking, go drive through East St. Louis. Just drive through there, please, for all of humanity. You know?
I mean, these people, to me, like, I've grown up in Alabama, right? Like, I've spent my entire life living in Alabama, and it's always seemed really weird to me that people draw these arbitrary lines at like race, gender, and sexuality. Like, it's always been really weird to me, but it's always been portrayed to me as like it's bad to be different than what the status quo is. And so like I grew up in a community that was pushing that on me. And ever since I, started to question that, it's kind of like, why the fuck is this wrong? Like, why the fuck does one person's sexuality matter to me if they're not like hitting on me or anything like that? Like, that's regardless of what their gender is or what their sex is. Like, if I don't want somebody to be hitting on me, then that's just my prerogative. And it just seems really weird to me that conservatives put such a high regard on other consenting adults wanting to live their life the way that they want to. And I don't understand why, if you're a consenting adult, why that's wrong. Like, all of this is in the purview of consent, right? But conservatives want to make it as if consent doesn't matter, and that's because of their indoctrinated upbringing. Like, they don't understand what consent is, and so that's their shortfall. Like, they just don't understand that.
Yeah. And, see, I grew up similar in the hometown where I grew up. It was about the same way. Now, of course, like 80s and 90s, it was even more stigmatized back then. But I always had the honor of, like, if I heard people bashing races in school, I'd go visit my dad who lived in Texas, and I'd meet people of all different races and stuff. And I'm like, they're just like me. So I didn't have to buy into that crap, and I'm like, I realized very early on that was just wrong. So I was always, I guess, kind of lucky in that regard. And then, of course, going into the military, going to different countries and seeing, all different types of people just doing the same thing everybody else is doing around the globe, is just trying to go and figure this thing out we call life. So yeah, I feel like, I was really, I kind of lucked out, because I could have been like everybody else in my hometown where I grew up. I could have been just like them, but lucky for me, at an early age, I was able to kind of see through all that crap.
I mean, I'm glad that you were, because I mean, the propaganda from the religious right is particularly strong, and they weaponize religion in order to convince people of their position. And I'm glad that you were able to get away from that.
Oh yeah, I definitely left out there, in some regards. And like, I think I was in 5th grade. Like, the KKK was like throwing pamphlets onto the playground at our elementary school. So at the time it was kindergarten through 5th in one school, and they're throwing pamphlets out, and some of the kids got a hold of these pamphlets, and they're like, "Oh my God, the KKK was here." And like, they were talking about them like they were to be revered and feared and stuff like that. Like, these were the real, like, gangsters or whatever the hell you want to call them, but you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, like, no, they're just stupid, So yeah, I'm glad I got out of that too. I'm able to see just all different walks of life at an early age.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets that, which is kind of sad to see. Because, like, even one of my good friends that, I mean, we knew each other since 8th grade. I mean, he was, not anymore, but he was racist, and then I would just talk to him. I wouldn't, like, go and just bash him or anything, or just say, but I'd tell him my experiences and the people that I've met. And you could see, like, where he was at one and he's like, you could see his trip out of it. Like, no, and he kind of agreed now where that was just dumb. It's not right to do. And, he's certainly trying to protect his kids from that too. So that's, I think things like that are good to see and see people's change in that regard.
No, I
But
totally
I
agree.
try to wherever I can.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see people like either move away from that or reject that in some kind of sense. Like I feel like the Christian nationalist narrative is not representative of a lot of the conservative movement, but at the same time, I feel like the most influential people are Christian nationalists, and so that's why I'm heavily focused on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, more people need to see, and they're like, you could see their plan from the ground up. Like, get in on the school boards and get in on this and that. Apply for these little offices, work your way up, and do this and that. And you got them just spreading all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like sitting there thinking, where in the hell do all these people come from? Like. Number one, most of them probably didn't serve in the military. A good majority, I'm sure, didn't. There's a small handful that did, but
I mean, the bone spurs get in the way.
What was that?
I was just saying the bone spurs, they got to get in the way, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. For sure. But yeah, I was talking to another friend of mine. I don't think Trump is going to win this election. It's not going to look good whenever he doesn't. And they're, of course, they're going to have their little fit or do whatever they want to try to do. But I don't think it's really going to work. Not only that, we're a little more prepared for it this time. So I don't think he's going to, but I'm still kind of on that. Like, I freaking hope not with everything. I hope not.
Oh yeah, I'm totally right there with you. Like, I really don't think that, especially after they switched to the Kamala Harris ticket, I don't think that they're really going to be able to regain the ground that they need to. Like, I feel like the Kamala Harris ticket has really invigorated the Democratic base, and has really made it to where a lot of people want to vote for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would vote for a wooden stick over Trump. I could get a little tree branch, set it there in the Oval Office, and I'll guarantee that does a better job than Trump.
I mean, I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah. My tangential story that I had that's kind of like in the same lines, but a little bit off topic. So there for a while, I was the commander for the VFW in my town. Mm-hmm. And you remember, like, back in the day, like, the football players would take a knee or they'd sit or whatever during the national anthem and stuff like that. So they had a vote. Like, the people in the VFW were pissed that they were doing that. And so they wanted to have a vote to boycott the Super Bowl. So they were going to have, like, some kind of anti-Super Bowl party where I guess they would go in there and watch anything but the Super Bowl. So they were all taking a vote. And I, as commander, I stood up there and I remained new. I knew where I felt in it, but I remained neutral in the position. Am I talking, or so I thought? And I'm like, well, I mean, all of us here fought for their right to do that. We don't have to like those rights.
Right.
But we fought for their right to do that. That's their freedom of speech that they're using to do that with. I said, keeping that in mind. Now I go, they have their rights, we have our rights. So if you guys, don't want to have the Super Bowl party, vote against it. If you do, I mean, just keep that in mind. And holy shit, like I was getting talked to and like, oh, this guy thinks it's fine and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't say that. I just said, we have the right and they have the right. I just wanted to give both sides of the argument there, but my God, I was just sitting there thinking like, man, that had to take some cojones of steel, man. Like, sitting in front of a bunch of old veterans that are from the same area that I am, that, oh, that's a disgrace for our American flag, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we kind of stand up for that. So,
yeah,
that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. But I do think that I kind of want to get to the Agenda 47. But it was great talking to you, Daniel.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna let you go, and we're gonna start reading Agenda 47. But it was great talking to you, and I know that I need to get a Skeptic Mafia hangout scheduled for this month, so it'll probably be next weekend that we get that handled.
Okay.
But yeah, I really appreciate you calling in there, bud.
Yep, no problem. Oh, hey, John, if you think of that series, I'm going to look for it too, but if you think of it, just text it over to me, because I'd definitely be interested in watching that.
Okay. I'll do that.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody in the chat. Have fun. Join the Skeptic Mafia.
See you later.
We're going to hang
Daniel.
out next weekend.
Yeah.
Right,
see ya. See you, Daniel.
Bye.
All right. Well, the call lines are still open. It's 1-256-634-6984. If you want to call in and talk to me about why I should vote for Trump, or why you are voting for Trump, rather, because I'm not going to vote for Trump. But we are going to be getting to Agenda 47. I want to read through this. Obviously there's a lot of people out there that think that Agenda 47 is different than Project 2025. And I kind of want to dispel that idea. I want to convince people that Project 2025 is the basis for Agenda 47, and that Agenda 47 is kind of a watered down version of Project 2025. So we're going to read through this. We're going to start with a preamble. Each chapter of Project or Agenda 47 is 1 page long, and we're going to go through it. I mean, we're going to get there, and we're going to go through the list of 20 things. Yeah, I'm just trying to fill time, trying to figure out what Agenda 47 is, because a lot of people think that it's different from Project 2025. So we've got the preamble here. America First, a return to common sense. Our nation's history is filled with the stories of brave men and women who gave everything they had to build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. Generations of American patriots have summoned the American spirit of strength, determination, and love of country to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. The American people have proven time and again that we can overcome any obstacle and any force pitted against us. Now, one thing that we need to notice here is the needless capitalization of things. And it seems like a 12th grade person, 12th grade, 11th? 5-year-olds not. So according to Casey, 5-year-olds know not to capitalize shit like this. So like, this is somebody that has very rudimentary ideas about the English language and grammar. Next paragraph. In the early days of our republic, the founding generation defeated what was then the most powerful empire the world has ever seen. In the 20th century, America vanquished Nazism and fascism and then triumphed over the Soviet communism after 44 years of Cold War. Keep in mind that the Conservative Party, like as far as Project 2025 goes and the Conservative Party in general goes, they have not moved past it. Like, they've not moved past the Cold War. They've not moved past 1980. Like, they are still fighting the things that they were fighting in the 1980s. Yeah. Okay. So it's gonna be super boring. We just need to move on to blah 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 blah. Common sense. Blah blah blah. To make clearly our commitment. Blah blah blah. Here are the major points. Here we go. Thank you, honey. These are the 20 things that are important to the 2024 GOP platform. The Trump agenda. Well, so the document is presented as a 2024 GOP platform. Well, so Agenda 47 on the Donald J. Trump site redirects to this document. So this is both Agenda 47 and the 2024 GOP platform. Okay. 1. Seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. This has a lot of problems. Oh, you wanna get on the mic? Okay, should I mute you? Okay. Casey's on the mic, y'all.
Hi.
Hi there, hun.
Hey.
So she's here to provide extra information. So seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Like, seal the border. So conservatives think that in a very dichotomous way. So it's either seal the border like completely, or the border is completely open. There's no medium ground where migrants can still immigrate to America. Like, it's just, this is America, this is how we want to be, and nobody can immigrate to America. That's what they're purporting. And so seal the border and stop the migrant invasion is about shutting off immigration completely. And of course, as we'll see in further points, they actually want to deport all immigrants. And they want to do that at the what's number 2? Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history, which in the 1950s, or was it 50s, or sometime in that particular time period, it was called Operation Wetback.
Well, let's go back to number 1. Let's not go forward yet. So in Project 2025, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. So that's number 1, right? In Agenda 47. On page 12 and 13, Project 2025, it says illegal immigration ended, not mitigated, the border sealed, not reprioritized. So this is the thing. The border is mentioned 91 times. Immigration is mentioned 154 times.
Yeah.
See how invasion 8 times.
Yeah.
So it's there.
Yeah. So they're basically and very definitely focused on the border and immigration, and they think that Biden and Harris have an open border policy.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't. Um, they have a better policy than Trump had, but you know, Trump thinks that a completely closed border and American isolationism is the way to go. And I feel like isolationism is actually a military tactic that people impose on certain countries in order to negatively affect them. But the Trump and couchfucker administration is trying to propose it as if it's a positive, and that's just simply not the situation. Like that's not what's going to happen. If we impose American isolationism, like we prevent immigration, we prevent cooperation with other nations, like that's just going to negatively affect our government and our society.
Okay, number carry out the largest deportation operation in history. Project 25, page 135. Prioritizing border security and immigration enforcement, including detention and deportation, is critical if we are to regain control of the border.
Yep.
Page 142. Removal of immigration violators anywhere in the United States without warrant where appropriate.
Yeah.
So, the deportation stuff is several times. This is also in Project 2025.
Right. Next, point number 3 is end inflation and make America affordable again. So this is alluding to a deflationary period, because if we're looking to revert America to back before the pandemic, to back before prices really skyrocketed, then we're talking about a deflationary period. This is very negative on our society. It causes a recession or a depression. And so calling for this making America affordable again, being this callback to a time when groceries were not as pricey, and gas, all of these things didn't cost as much as they did. Like this is this is a GOP platform saying we want to cause a deflationary period that causes a recession. Like that's just what it causes. So part of their platform is to cause a recession, while at the same time, as we'll see, it causes they call for no recession. Like they say that the Biden Harris or the Harris Waltz position is going to cause a recession. That's not true. Their position is going to cause a recession.
Okay, Project 2025. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. That's on page 1. Inflation is mentioned 101 times.
Yep.
It's there.
So it's deeply tied to Project 2025, and all of these ideas that are contained in Agenda 47 are deeply tied to Project 2025. Next, number 4, we've got make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. We're already pretty energy dominant. Like we're
for the first time, we are at exporter right now. We're producing than we ever have all of our right now currently.
Yeah.
In Project 2025, the first, well, 13 American dominance global for the world. Energy is first on page 7, and again 655 times throughout the document.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the whole energy crisis is manufactured by these conservatives. Like they purport that Biden Harris or the Harris Waltz administration would cause us to go into this whole like cause an energy problem, but that's just simply not true. Because Trump at the very end of his administration was not producing as much energy as the Biden Harris administration is producing now. Next, number 5, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. You know who has done more for manufacturing than Donald Trump?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. That's right. Joe Biden has done more for manufacturing than Donald Trump ever did. And all Donald Trump did was provide false promises that ended up nearly devastating communities. Like, he nearly destroyed communities in his time as president. And I mean, I'm not exactly sure why he chose to do that, but he did do that. This is well documented.
Project 5, page 11. American factories have closed. Jobs have been outsourced. Our manufacturing economy has been financialized. Page 13. Our manufacturing and industrial base should be restored, not allowed to deteriorate further. Full spectrum strategic energy dominance, this also goes back to the one before, would facilitate the reinvigoration of America's entire industrial and manufacturing sector as we disentangle our economy from China. Outsourcing and manufacturing are mentioned 126.
Yeah. So obviously, Agenda 47 deeply tied to Project 2025. Next, we have stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower, which seems to be just a regurgitation of point 4. So basically, this is adhering to the whole American isolationism sort of idea. And isolationism is a very bad tactic. We have, countries have used isolationism in the past in order to devastate countries. So it doesn't seem all that reasonable to me for us to impose that upon ourselves. But a lot of these conservatives, they think that American isolationism is the answer to a lot of the things that we have, like inflation or any particular problem that we have. They think that American isolationism is going to solve it, and that's just not true. Next, we have large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. This has been the thing that Trump has really run on in the past few weeks, is this whole idea of no tax on tips. He hasn't really given us any kind of indication as to what he means by this or how he's going to prevent abuse of tax on tips. Because what's to prevent you from running a business that's primarily run on tips, and therefore you don't have to pay taxes on the tips and things of that nature? So it doesn't make sense to me to run on this no tax on tips thing if you don't have any safeguards for fraudulent claims on taxes. Large tax cuts for workers. I don't see how he's providing that when the tax that's proposed by both Project 2025 and as well as other conservatives out there, like, they're not actually causing any kind of tax cuts for the working class. In fact, the working class is going to have to pay more money in order to pay their taxes. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It just sounds like they're lying to their audience in order to get them to vote for them. When in reality, the policies that they're presenting are going to cause their voting base to pay more in taxes. Of course, I feel like that means that they get to push the blame off on the Democrats. Like, oh, the Democrats, they wanted to cause you to pay more taxes. Like, I feel like that's what they're banking on.
Tax on tips thing actually it's not in Project 2025 at all. But there are significant portions dedicated to talking about taxes and tax cuts, etc. Yeah, on page 278, it says focus resources on strengthening the fundamentals of free markets, such as clear property rights and a functioning judiciary, and on promoting labor and pension reforms, lower taxes and deregulation in order to increase trade and investment. And so it discusses that there are several places in here that talk about tax cuts and tax reform. So that's the tax is in here 239 times. The word taxpayer is in here 140 times. It's a theme.
Yeah, and the agenda of conservatives is to cut taxes for the top 1%, while the working class has to make up for those tax cuts.
Well, so they do. There are tax cuts that happen in the middle class when it comes to Republicans. That does happen, but the problem is they do these tax cuts. They're always temporary, right? But their other policies end up costing taxpayers more.
Yeah.
In the end, so it's really not helpful, you know. When you take away resources that the middle and lower class have access to, but you cut their taxes, so you save money, but you take away resources that they currently have access to, or increase tariffs, making goods cost more. You're negating what you're doing, and you're making it worse.
No, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with that. Number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to bear and keep arms. Now, obviously, they don't mean the freedom of religion for everybody. Like, they may present themselves as being like, oh, everybody can worship however they want to worship. Like, that may be the words that they use, but it's fairly obvious that conservatives are only talking about the freedom to be Christian. Like, what we see in the news cycle and what we see the conservatives actually doing is only promoting the freedom to be Christian, not the freedom of religion. And I feel like that's what needs to be focused on, is the fact that they are promoting freedom to be Christian, not freedom of religion. They don't care about these other things. Like, they don't care about fundamental freedoms. They don't care about individual, including fundamental rights of free speech. Like, they don't care about these things. If you're in the comment section right now and you think that, there is this fundamental right that's being provided by the conservative movement on free speech, I implore you to call in 1-256-634-6984. Like, call in so that you can explain to us how Agenda 47 or Project 2025 is actually providing these kinds of freedoms for us, because I don't see it. I see providing the freedom to be Christian, and other than that, they don't provide any securities for other religions. They don't provide any other protections for free speech or religions other than what it applies to Christianity. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe, and in the Middle East and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how this is possible. Like for Israel,
part? That's a lot.
It's a lot. So as far as Israel is concerned, like the Iron Dome is covering a small segment of the Middle East. Like it's covering a small area. If we want to try to expand that to like the continental United States, like that's a monumental task. And it's a task that's going to take a lot of money if we were to actually implement it. And it's also going to take a lot of time. And so it's not going to be completed in the 4 years that Trump would be in office. So like him saying we're going to build an Iron Dome over the United States, that's just not what's going to happen. This is not feasible in this time period or at all, really.
The common defense section of this, it starts on page, I think, 87. They talk about avoiding war and peace through strength. They talk a lot about that. On pages 48 and 49, they talk about the Made in America. So that's the all Made in America. There's actually a Made in America office. I don't know. Within the executive, we're going to talk about that probably on our next podcast.
Okay.
That we do, not the next one that's coming out that we've already recorded, the one after.
Right.
So there's a lot of Made in America, Buy American efforts, and then there's also on page 88 it talks about making more of our weapons in America. A great Iron Dome missile defense shield. Now there is a whole entire section in the common defense portion about missile defense and all the brilliant ideas they have for it. Now, I don't even disagree with most of the ideas they have for the missile defense system for the United States. However, the idea of building an Iron Dome over the entire United States it's possible. It's possible, but it would take so much time and an asinine amount of money, an insane amount of money, an amount of money that we just do not have and we can't even raise. Like
take into account that they want to slash corporate tax percentage.
Yeah.
On income taxes. They also want to slash the working population's tax cuts, or the taxes on the working population. And they essentially want to cut the ability of the American government to collect any kind of revenue whatsoever. So we're talking about an immense amount of money that we don't have the means to collect, and that we're not ever going to collect, it seems, in the reasonable amount of time that they're projecting it to be.
Yeah, it's just absurd to be quite frank.
Yeah. And KC over here is talking about comparing Project 2025 to Agenda 47 to Project 2025.
Yeah, in Project 2025 there's a whole section about missile defense and stuff that they want. And like I said, it's not bad. Some of it is a waste of money. But it's not even bad stuff. But they talk about in here treating missile defense as a top priority. So, that's one of the things they want to do in Agenda 47. It's in Project 2025. Interesting story. If you have listened to our podcast over on Project 2025 Deconstructed, Politics Deconstructed channel. The podcast is Project 2025 Deconstructed, right? That's what it's called. In one of the episodes, we talk about. I totally lost my thought. What was I talking about?
We're talking about the comparison between Agenda 47 and Project 25.
Yes. one of the earlier episodes, it might even be the first episode we did. I'm not sure the history, what
Mhm.
it is, who we are. I think it might be episode 2. But it talks about the history of the Heritage Foundation and the history of this mandate for leadership. Well, so missile defense as an idea, like from the beginning of the idea of missile defense in the United States, that came from the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation told Reagan, we need to like set up a missile defense system. 6 months later, Reagan came up with the first proposal for missile defense in the United States.
Yep.
And so if you think that Project 2025 or the Heritage Foundation is not influential, or that how Trump likes to say, I don't even know who these random, crazy people are, or these are extremists, they're listened to.
Mm-hmm.
They're listened to. So missile defense is something that the Heritage Foundation promoting for many.
Definitely. So the next is in the weaponization of government against the American people. And I mean, this is the lawfare that they've been talking about as far as it's been applied to Trump. And they explain what they mean by this, but I mean, ultimately, it's about, not using the government to prosecute those that want to actively change how the government works, it seems.
Yeah, several times they mention in Project 2025 the left being woke and weaponizing the government against the people.
Yeah.
It's mentioned several times, unprecedented politicization, weaponization in the Department of this is the Department of Justice. Yeah, they're talking about the Department of Justice here. That's on page 285. So this is the common between the two.
Yeah. So basically, the crowd of Law and Order doesn't like it when Law and Order is applied to them, and so they only want to make it to where Law and Order can be applied to their enemies, it seems. Point 10, which is halfway through all this. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. I mean, violent offenders are already locked up as far as, I know. I mean, I'm not in law enforcement. But the migrant crime epidemic, like, yeah, we could do better in this area, but I feel like Trump isn't, like, Trump's solution is to just deport everybody.
John Oliver did a show on the myth of the migrant crime epidemic.
Right.
So that's not even a real thing. So you can feel free to watch the John Oliver. He's got everything, all the sources and everything you need in that regard. They do talk a lot about migrant crime in Project 2025 when as it applies to drugs and all kinds of things like that. There's a lot in here related to immigrants.
Yeah. And then the demolish the foreign drug cartels. Like, I feel like this is weaponizing our military against foreign non state entities. And so basically we're talking about invading Mexico, invading different countries in order to solve their drug epidemic. And I think that that's just ridiculous.
Drug cartels are discussed 25 times in Project 2025.
Right. Plus gang violence. That's another thing. Like, gang violence has been a thing in America for the longest time. And I feel like the gang violence, like, epidemic, as far as they would classify it, I feel like they're not actually addressing, like, the actual problem. I feel like they are only addressing the symptoms, and so they're not actually going to alleviate any of these problems. All right, the back 10 now. We're going to try to get through these. We still don't have any other callers other than Daniel, which I really appreciate Daniel calling in. But if you're voting Trump, we would love to hear from you. 11 is rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. I'm perfectly fine with making like Washington, D.C. safe, clean, and beautiful, or any city out there safe, clean, and beautiful. But I feel like there's a bit of racism like tied behind this particular point. Like they're definitely targeting like Washington, D.C. and other areas for the fact that they have a massive minority population compared to the wider American demographic. And so, the rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again is more racist rhetoric, is how I'm interpreting it. I could be wrong, obviously, but that's just how it comes across as me.
Yeah, and
for me.
This exact point is not stated in Project 2025. However, there is a lot there are several instances in here about rebuilding infrastructure in our cities. It talks about how our cities are in bad shape and things. It doesn't necessarily Washington D.C. is mentioned in here, but I'm kind of doing this on the fly, so it does talk about Washington, D.C. and, how it's essentially a woke mess.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C. is mentioned 25 times, but I haven't had a chance to read through all 25 of them to get this exact point out of there.
Yeah, I still feel like the amount of minorities in the Washington, D.C. area make this kind of claim more racist than economic, I guess, or public safety oriented. Like they're equating minority groups with being with public safety, in that minority groups make it unsafe.
I feel like that's a little bit of a reach here. I'm not disagreeing that they do make that point generally, but that's not what this statement is doing, in my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion, this is not that.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. I feel like it's more racial in nature than anything, but I'm also willing to be proved wrong about that. 12, which we got Potato Boys, who apparently subscribed. Number 12 says strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. I think this over focus on the military is unneeded. Like, I know the military could use some upgrades, but I feel like making it a point in a political platform is a little bit too much.
So there's an entire chapter dedicated to, there's a whole section dedicated to the common defense of our nation. It's not all military. Let's see, strengthen and modernize our military. So chapter 4 is about the Department of Defense, which would include our military. Chapter 5 is Department of Homeland Security. You might be able to combine those two for some of this. But the chapter 4 is definitely filled with ways to modernize our military. They repeatedly peace through strength is a common theme. So that's making it the most powerful in the world. We already have that, so this seems ridiculous. However, there are things in our military that are aging, right? That probably need modernized. But again, that takes a whole lot of money. There's so many things that they want to do with no plan for how to pay for them. And so modernizing our military is certainly in that's chapter 4 of Project 2025.
Yeah, Potato Boy Plays, who I think is who just subscribed, says, I am in Ohio. I would like to get rid of JD Vance, but not like this. As far as like voting him into the vice presidency. Like I can totally agree with that. Number 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. I don't see how we're changing that. Like, I don't see how that's been changed. I don't even know what that means. Like, what do you mean by keeping it the reserve currency? Like, I don't know.
Sorry, I'm trying to look it up here on the fly.
Yeah, I know. You're fine.
Many.
Let's see. 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to retirement age. I feel like this is more of a ploy to appeal to the older generation, the generation that's on Medicare and Medicaid. Like, I feel like it's, if they say, oh, we're going to increase taxes on y'all, then they're going to lose their vote. So, obviously, the Grand Old Party is looking to appeal to the Grand Old generation.
Yeah, there's a lot of since we kind of section 4 is about the economy of the book, and they do talk a lot about currency, our currency, including, which I found this interesting because I haven't actually gotten here. They want to add a central bank for digital currency.
Yeah. And
free banking to, that not controlled by the government at all, right? So that they think that'll make a stable and sound currency. They also suggest considering the feasibility of returning to the gold standard. Interesting.
That's where let's just go in reverse from progress, right? Like, that seems like the best way to do it. Number 14, fight for and protect. Oh, wait, sorry, I read that.
Sorry, I went backwards.
No, that's fine. I know you're working really hard over there. I appreciate it. 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. So, the conservatives have always been about cutting regulations. They don't like regulations, but regulations are what keep you, the American person, safe. They protect you from corporations. They protect you from the government. Regulations are meant to help the general American from being exploited by either government agencies or by corporations. So regulations are generally good. What we see in fascist regimes is a reduction in regulation. Like, they don't want regulation, and that seems to be what they want. And also, this whole cancel the electric vehicle mandate, like, it seems to me like they want to cancel the electric vehicle mandate because they don't like the idea of everybody being on electric vehicles, and therefore that's going to impact like the traditional petroleum companies. And so it kind of seems like the oil companies are the ones that are influencing this kind of regulation. The regulation where they call for not regulating things, but only regulating things that they want to be regulated.
Also, Project 2025 discusses canceling the electric vehicle mandate on page 286.
Yep. So, I mean, directly connected to Project 2025. Just saying. 16, cut federal funding for any school publishing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and any other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. This is directly connected to Project 2025 because Project 2025 suggests restricting DEI as well as any sexual health instruction. They also say that educators and librarians who provide access to LGBTQIA plus material to be registered as sex offenders. So, I mean, this is heavily embedded in Project 2025, and they definitely want to insist upon fascist ideologies that are geared towards suppressing this kind of information.
Yeah, they start talking about this in the foreword of Project 2025. So this is like littered throughout. The word critical race theory just they're the words. The phrase critical race theory is mentioned 20 times in the document, but they start out strong discussing this exact thing in the foreword of the book.
So, I mean, it's all over Project 2025. It's crazy. 17 is keep men out of women's sports. This is so concentrated upon by the conservative movement that they put it in their platform.
It's on page 8 of Project 2025. They first talk about it on page 8. They talk about it on page 332, and again on page. Oh no, that's not the same thing. So they talk about this right from the start.
And so, like, this is yet another instance of Project 2025 aligning with Agenda 47. So if you have somebody that's saying, "Oh, Agenda 47 is different from Project 2025," it's literally not. It's just a distilled down version of Project 2025 that people will accept, because the architects of Project 2025 know that the wider public won't accept it, so they had to distill it down into something that they would accept, and there you have Agenda 47. 18 is deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our colleges and college campuses safe and patriotic again. So this has a lot of implications here. For one thing, if you're protesting on behalf of Hamas, then you're just simply not you're not American. Like, you're going to be deported to where? Who the fuck knows?
They start talking about this in the foreword as well. This college campuses and problems with Hamas. I don't think Hamas is mentioned. Oh yeah, Hamas is in here, but not in this context. So they do talk about college campuses and the problems with wokeism and keeping them safe. In regards to the freedom of speech and things like that, they do talk about that, which is weird because they talk about being for freedom of speech on college campuses, but then they don't want this speech on campuses, and they want to deport those people. So, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like the deport pro-Hamas radicals is going to end up deporting American citizens, because like everybody like especially on college campuses are very anti-genocide. I feel like most people would be anti-genocide, but the Republicans like to promote that being anti-genocide in this respect is anti-Hamas or anti-Israel, and so therefore pro-Hamas. And so it seems ridiculous to me to be like, we're going to deport all pro-Hamas radicals, because what they're interpreting as being pro-Hamas is really just being anti-genocide. And they want to get rid of people that want to stop the genocide that's happening over in the Gaza Strip and on the West Bank and all of those areas. Like, I feel like that's a normal humanistic sort of position to take, and the conservatives are wanting to stomp that out. 19 is secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. This is very much voter suppression, like I was talking about earlier in our show here. Our elections are already secure, and we don't need to like secure them further. The same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship, all that is voter suppression techniques. Like, having everybody in a state vote on the same day is going to cause like untold amounts of backup in the in the voting process. People who are in the lower brackets of American society can't afford to take an entire day off. Maybe they can take half a day off or whatever, but they can't take an entire day off to vote. And so requiring same-day voting is suppressing the votes of those people that can't do that. And then voter identification is going to target the poor population in America, because the poor population in America can't afford to pay for the ID that would be required in order to vote. Paper ballots and proof of citizenship, both of those things are also suppressive to voting rights. The requirements that they set upon people in order to be able to vote is just ridiculous, and doesn't actually help protect our elections. Our elections are already safe. We don't need more protections in order to make them safe when they're already safe.
They spent a significant time in Project 2025 talking about this in the Department of Justice section about voter registration, paper ballots, all that kind of stuff. Also, what's interesting is that while they seem so interested in securing our elections, they actually, one of the recommendations that they have in here on page 120 is to end U.S. cybercom's participation in federal efforts to fortify U.S. elections against like cyber threats. They want to end that.
I mean, why should we protect other people when we can just protect ourselves?
I mean, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what the ramifications are for that, or why they would want to end that.
No,
but
I don't know what you mean by what you said. I don't know what you said meant.
I mean, I feel like the conservatives don't want to participate in the larger global community in preventing cyber warfare attacks. Is that not what that meant?
Well, this is specifically about our elections.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with anybody else.
Oh, okay.
This is specific to our elections. End U.S. cybercom's participation in federal efforts to fortify U.S. elections.
Oh, so fortify U.S. elections.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Okay.
Because we're talking about elections, and while they want to do, same-day voting, paper ballots, all that other kind of shit, they also want to end a program specifically dedicated to securing our elections against cyber attacks.
Yeah, if they're concerned about protecting our elections, it makes no sense for them to want to do that. Seems kind of weird. And then finally, it's unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. And I have no idea what that means. Like, I mean, nothing that they propose so far is going to cause this. And I don't know how they would effectively cause this in practical ways. So
I mean, they're not going to unite the country. Trump is never going to unite the country. He is not capable of uniting the country. He can't even unite his own party.
Right.
Trump is a hot mess, and that is not going to happen with him, period. It just isn't. He's a horrible human being. And minimally half the country and significantly more than that will not get behind him.
No, I totally agree.
So also new and record levels of success. I guess it depends on how you determine that. If you're talking about manufacturing, we're doing great right now. Still improvements necessary, but we're doing good. The economy is doing pretty good, right? We've got inflation between 2% and 3%. Still needs to come down a little bit, but we're pretty good there. We need to work on the high prices, and Kamala Harris has a actual plan to do that. Donald Trump just says drill baby drill, which is another interesting thing because we're at records level success on oil production in the United States and energy production overall. Also, the stock market is higher than it's ever been. So seems like we're doing okay already.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of that we're covering in our politics deconstructed podcast on Project 2025 that we're putting out next week, and we're going to be covering in the days to come. But it just kind of seems rather awkward for Agenda 47 to be so closely tied to Project 2025 for them to not be connected. And I guess that was really the point in tonight's show, is to show how Agenda 47, Project 2025. They're deeply connected. They both talk about the same things, enacting the same kind of policies and doing the same kind of things to the American public. And anybody that tells you that Project 2025 is not connected to Agenda 47, they're just either being lied to or they are lying to you. And so that's kind of what we wanted to highlight here. And
Trump's definitely lying to you.
yes, Trump definitely is. And I'm dropping the other lines right now, and I'm going to be getting out of the call.
So there's an asshole in the chat, by the way. There's plenty of countries to move to that'll suit you. Fuck off. Like, I don't understand the idea that people are like, if you don't like it, just move. As if we can't stay and improve our country. Like, why wouldn't you want to make our country better? Why wouldn't you want to improve our education, improve health and wellness? Why wouldn't you want to do those things? Why is the answer leave? We'll just live here in fucking squalor. That is the dumbest fucking argument I have ever heard.
I totally agree with you, hon. I mean, I think it, like the whole just move is a dumb as fuck argument. Obviously, not everybody can afford to move, and not everybody's in a position to where they can move. So that is speaking from a position of privilege, and it's rather shitty, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah. Also, it's not super easy to emigrate, like to go places, to move. It's not easy to do that. Not even much more difficult outside of the States, but also difficult for a lot of people within the States. Like people who live, like I've had people tell me, if you don't like it in Alabama, just move. Well, we can't move right now. There are reasons we can't move right now. So why not try to make Alabama better? Like I just
Yeah, I mean, like that position is totally antithetical to the idea of government in general. Like being able to mold your community in the way that you want to live, like influencing your community, like making your community better for not only you but for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the whole spirit of governance, like in the modern sense. You know, so like telling somebody, well, just move if you don't like it. Like, but what if like there's no place that enacts, you know, things like you like it? Wouldn't it be better to mold your local community in the ways that you think is best governed? And I mean, I know that both conservative and Democrats can use that line of logic, and I totally advocate for people doing that. My point is that just saying move if you don't like it is totally antithetical to governance in general. And so it makes it a very dumb fucking argument for you to even bring up. That's my entire point. But anyways, that's going to be it for our show tonight. We only had Daniel to call in. I really appreciate Daniel calling in and, you know, talking to us for a bit. I appreciate everybody you know, in the chat there that has participated, and you know, I will be setting up a Skeptic Mafia hangout here in the future. We do have a lot of things that are going on in the near future. We've got the Apostate Sisters that are going to be coming on. They're possible.
So wonderful. I loved them so much.
Yeah, they're great. We met them at the BajaCon in Canada. There's also a possibility I could win $5,000 from a random person that emailed me. And, you know, we just got a lot of great shit that's going to be going on here. I'm going to be responding to Shits in His Pants 1488 here soon, probably next week on the channel about propaganda concerning Trump.
He means Sticks and Hammer.
Sticks and Hammer, Shits in His Pants. I don't know.
I mean, they could think you're talking about Trump.
I mean, maybe they both wear diapers, I'm sure. I feel like they both wear diapers. At least one of them sits there and he talks and he's got his shirt open and he's like, I can't do it. What's up?
I mean,
y'all see my chest hair?
We know at least one of them shits in their pants.
Yep, one of them shits in their pants.
At least.
We don't know which one,
we know at least one of them.
We know at least one of them does. Anyways, we're gonna go. We will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up, use your voice, and all that kind of good shit. And we will see you next week on the channel. Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.